How we doing, everybody? DommyGun Rici here, trying to get in focus. How we doing today, folks? DommyGun Rici here in New York City. Well, outside of New York City, Franklin Square, Long Island. The Who-Bangin Sports Talk East Coast studio. Got to try to get into focus here. Don't see what's going on. Let me take myself out and bring myself back in for it. It's a great picture of Citi Field because no one's playing and the Mets ain't losing. So isn't that a great picture of Citi Field? So I'll work on that as we're going along. How's everybody today? It's a Thursday card, 12 games, a little bit more than usual on the games. But I got a few picks for you. A lot of these games I didn't have starters listed. They weren't lineups out, and there's a bunch of these games that we're still working on. And listen, you know how we do here. We don't force it, so we'll take it as it goes. But I did have a couple of games today. We'll probably make it a little bit of a shorter broadcast. We had a good day Saturday. The show's been on the roll. The show's been good. I've been having a pretty good 2 weeks. For some reason, I like to think it's skill, but I'm never far away from knowing that luck is always involved when it comes to sports betting. Our goal is to try to minimize the luck and add a little bit more skill into it. But I'll tell you, this part of June and stuff, I do pretty good in June usually, and I do pretty good right before the All-Star break, those last 2 weeks, because I realize that and it's something we should look at. I realize that a lot of our games, a lot of our teams, a lot of freaky things start happening while we're, while these last 2 weeks come. And, teams start playing different, things start going, that was better. Was it turning on that light? And you guys that follow me, you know who I am. I do this on the fly. I do this show like I'm talking to you in the bar. So we're not technical. We're not, all, all nice and spiffy. We do things as like I said, like the way we're talking. But that's how we bet sports, and that's why our guys at Who-Bangin, we're the true gamblers, man. We're the true handicappers. This ain't no marketing. This ain't nobody reading off a teleprompter. That's pretty obvious, right? But that's how we do it. So. I know some of you get annoyed with a little bit of technical issues and pictures not being clear and all that nonsense that does nothing to help you win ball games. So here's my little rant for today. So hope everybody's been having a good week. Like I said, the card was a little bit longer than usual, but a little more games. We've been having 8, 9 games on Thursdays. But today we seem to be having a few more. But like I said, the lineups weren't out yet. This first game that's listed on the board, I don't have a play on, and that's the Padres against Pittsburgh. Musgrove's been pitching a lot better, and I think he's becoming what he's supposed to be becoming. One of the elite pitchers, and he should have a good outing. But I have no play on this game whatsoever. It was just, the line was moving quick, the total moved quick, and I just stayed off it. So that was one game that I was off. Let's see. I had some stuff put aside for you guys just to talk about besides the games, but I'll find that as we go. Anyway, let's get to what I got, what I do have. Okay, let's just go down the list. Okay, so Detroit, Texas, so you know where I'm at. Detroit, Texas, I didn't have the pitches listed. Okay, now I'm seeing Chen and Bradford pitching. Stay away game for me. Texas, I'm gonna guys know I've been betting a lot of Texas Ranger games, like a lot of us have been, and with success. And their team total first 5 over 2.5 for the season in general has been a great bet. But I see them faltering a little bit. They had a bad outing here in New York against the Yankees, which was against a Yankees team that wasn't playing good, but for some reason Texas doesn't play well when they come up here. So I know, a lot of that stuff really has nothing to do with what happened in the past. But some things are just coincidences, and they keep happening, and you can't just disregard them. So, at least I don't. But Texas never really fared well against the Yankees, so, and then they just haven't been playing well, and they're one of the teams that I feel will take a little lull, but after the All-Star break, I think they'll be a strong team. I think Texas, very surprising, man. DeGrom got dropped, got hurt, and they didn't miss a step, and that really shows me a lot, especially with a young team like that. And I like Texas going through. We'll see what happens. A couple of teams I don't like going through. One of them is the Pirates. We already see what they're starting to be about. That whole pirate love, I didn't understand from the beginning. It's just a typical early season Major League Baseball things that happen. The team I'm not sold on yet, and you might be surprised at this, is the Reds. I'm not sold on the Reds. Yes, they're playing really well. Yes, they're playing really well in a division that's not great. Same as the Pirates, I should say. But I don't know. Is India the best hitter on their team? Is India their best player? I mean, you can't. Indy's a good player, but on most teams, he's a solid, mid-range player, not the best. So just as a name to throw out, I'm not sold on the Reds. I had a couple good wins this week going against them. See how it goes. I could be wrong. Won't be the first time, would it? The next game up is Cleveland, Kansas City. I banked Cleveland the last 2 days. I took Cleveland in this series for a minus 145, and you guys know me that I usually don't go over minus 140, but I couldn't believe the line was minus 145, and then it went up. It was closed at I don't know, minus 160 or so, if I'm looking at the right, if I remember correctly. But I took them in the series. I thought they would just sweep this series. Of course, this number again, Now this number is a little confusing because there has been some buyback on the. I see some buyback here on the Reds. I mean on the Reds on the Royals, which is a little surprising. But I don't. I'm off this game. Listen, like I said, I have this series. It's a one bet. For me to bet this game would be silly. I could. I already. I already got a win for the series in my pocket. Plus, I won the last two games. So. What I did was yesterday I had the Cleveland team total. The first game I had Cleveland outright. All right, the next game up is another game I did not have the pitchers listed, and now I'm seeing Littell pitching for Tampa, and I can't really pronounce that last name. Pfaadt. I'm assuming that P is usually silent. If I remember my grammar school. Which is a long time ago. But I'm off that game. Tampa, Arizona, D-backs, another team. Very surprising this year. But a team I think will keep on going in the second half. And they're going to, I don't know how far they're going to go, but they're going to be a problem against some of the better teams that you think that as a dog and stuff. I think that keep your eyes on the Diamondbacks. They don't have the pitching staff, the complete pitching staff to really, I don't think, to go into the playoffs and stuff. But I like the Diamondbacks, and it's a team I'm rooting for. It's a team I've done well with in the first half. And speaking of the first half, we'll get a show together or by the All-Star break, over the All-Star break, and we'll talk about it. We did it last year. I'll get some of my friends to see if they will join me like they did last year. And we'll talk a little bit about the first half of baseball and what we expect in the second half in baseball. I will be reaching out to my friend Connor Mack, who joined me last time for that show, and who I haven't talked to in a few weeks here. So I'll put that out publicly. Connor Mack, I'm going to be looking for you to help me out on this. I haven't seen him in a while. I love talking baseball with him. Dave Rogers is another one I love talking baseball with. So we'll see who we can get on. Time schedules are an issue, so sometimes we cannot do a live game because a live broadcast, we keep it, maybe we'll record it because everybody's schedules are so all over the place and we're all busy. We live in different time zones. So anyway, we'll be looking for that first half, second half discussion. The next game up on the board I see is the Yankees. They got Schmidt pitching against Oakland. It's undecided. I laid off that game yesterday with the Yankee game, but truth be told, I'm a big Sears backer. I don't know. I just laid off yesterday totally. I didn't play anything yesterday. I took a rest, and I'm glad I did because I would have backed Sears 100%, especially against Jamon, and especially with the numbers we've been looking at. And like I said, Sears has been good for me in some fashion or another. I've been backing him, and he's been doing well, but not last night. He got rocked last night. Jamon pitched the 9 full innings, the shutout, the whole 9 yards. I'm sure everybody heard about it this morning. Let's see what we got here. So that game, let me see if Oakland on this other site, if they have a site listed. Nope, still Oakland to be announced. So we'll stay away from that. Schmidt's a good pitcher. I like Clark Schmidt. I think he's going to be getting better and better. I would definitely lean towards the Yankees, but an opening, I see in the line now of minus 190. Obviously, we ain't doing that. Depending on who the pitcher is, though, this could be an underplay today. It's at 8.5 now, which I don't really know how you play a total, especially. I can see playing a team if you don't know who the other pitcher is, if you're really confident on how you think the other team is going to play and that pitcher. But I don't know how you play a total at all without those lineups. So what we will go with is next. We talked about Tampa Bay, Arizona, New York, Oakland. Let's go to these. So money just moved on the. I got the splits open, and that's what's been keeping my attention a little bit. In the last 5 minutes, at the South Point, the over is the total at 8.5 is now getting juiced up. It was at 105 at Caesars. It is now across the board. I got the Las Vegas casinos open this morning, and they get minus 120. Circa just moved it to a 9, minus 120. Westgate 8.5, minus 125. South Point 8.5, minus 120. So that over is getting hit. And if you can still get an 8.5, according to the money splits that's going on over the last 5 minutes, and that's a 12:30 start. It might be a shot at that game. I didn't see where the. I'll go over to the DraftKings spot and look at where the money splits are. I have the DraftKings consensus as far as where the handle and the cash is going, and then I have the Las Vegas. Casinos listed on my other page. So I kind of go back and forth. Just in case anybody is looking at that game in San Diego. Let's see. On the total, 53% of the bets, 59% of the handle on the over 8.5. Like I said, we see it moving to 9. So take a shot. That's for sure. I almost pressed on the wrong thing. Let's see who's around. Don Play, how are you, man? Yeah, St. Louis, you lost with the money line. I'll tell you something about St. Louis. They are hitting the ball. They're crushing the ball. I kind of feel like St. Louis might have a little bit of see what they do if they make a trade here. If they do something at the deadline with pitching staff. I mean, the problem in St. Louis is in the bats, right? They've been hitting and hitting and hitting. I don't like taking team totals over 5, and I don't take them, but they've been hitting, and they have been. So, Don, I hear you, man. I hear you. But that's that. I'm not taking that game today. That's another game I'm off. Tampa Bay, Arizona. We talk about the Yankees, Clark Schmidt. Here's it. Let's go with the game I am on. Jeez, right? Let's go with the game I am on. Which one would be first? Let's go in order. At 6:10, such a weird time in Boston. I know Boston has done some games because of the marathon and done some weird times, but I don't know if they do it to try to throw off the other team. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but I do like that game today. For the record, there is some rain in the forecast. It's hot. It's humid in Boston. I talked to somebody that lives there, and they said it's rainy, hot, and humid. The weather is supposed to be like the 5 miles an hour wind blowing out. Which, listen, like you guys know, and what we've talked about, and a lot of us have talked about, not just myself. 15 miles per hour is basically, where I'm looking for the weather to be an issue. And I know Boston's a hitter ballpark, but I'll tell you something. I like the under in this game. I like Luzardo a lot. I know on the road his numbers ain't great, but and Bayo has been pitching really well. And he's a guy, another young young starter that I think is going to get better and better and better. And it put me on the under 9 in here. But I also like Miami to win the game. The numbers are going to Miami. The money splits are going to Miami. They're going from dog to favorite. They were the dog this morning. I bet them at even money. They were plus like 110. I bet them at even money. Now I'm seeing DraftKings moved it to minus 105, which put the Red Sox at minus 115, and the money splits are going to the Red Sox. And I can see why. I know people don't like betting teams against sweeps, and Miami beat them the first 2 times, but that's something I don't pay attention to. I'm not a guy who cares. I don't go for the sweep thing, because how many teams go on 10 and 12 game winning streaks? 8, 5. That's over 2 series, right? So 6 games. That's over 2 series. So that sweep thing, I'm not big on. But let's talk a little bit about Mr. Luzardo. Listen, Alcantara has been the best pitching, got their best pitcher on their staff for years and years and years. And this year, we see Sandy starting to falter. I was surprised that he didn't have a good outing last time. I thought he was going to have a very good outing last out. He has thrown in a couple decent outings, and he's young. He's only 30 years old, Sandy. But you know what the problem is if you look back in Sandy's career, which we all know, the amount of innings he's pitched. He's always been a pitcher, 6, 7, 8. He's an old school throwback type pitcher that pitched those 7, 8 innings. He's had a couple complete games, in his career. He's pitched a lot of innings compared to the other arms today in today's baseball in general. And I think it's affecting him a little bit early, maybe. We'll see. This All-Star break would probably do good for him. I don't know if the Marlins can't really shut him down because the Marlins. And another reason why I don't like the sweep is because the Marlins, if they could sweep the Boston, that gives them a nice little go into the Braves. I know today's a getaway day, and they play the Braves tomorrow. I don't buy the theory that teams are overlooking today's game because they're playing their division rival tomorrow. Listen, Miami could lose very well to this Red Sox team, which at times has hit, but they haven't been lately so great. But I like Miami today. Just a couple quick notes. Luzardo, 27.7 K rate. The average right now in baseball is around 22% is the K rate average. So he's 5% plus over the average pitching K rate, which is good. He has an xWOBA of 299. He's been better versus the righty lineups, and that's true. And the Red Sox do have that righty lineup, but his whip percentage, 50.5% on his slider. So his slider's been working. His changeup, 39.1%. So his changeup's been working. The problem with where he's been having is the fastball. He has it's like a 4.46x slugging percentage. These are a lot of numbers I look at a lot, and I don't really talk about on the show because it gets too involved and too deep. But just to show you some way how things I look at when I cap. His fastball really isn't there, but the Red Sox haven't really been hitting that well against righties lately. Like I said, they're an up and down team. Bayo, I like a lot though. He's a little bit below in a few numbers, but listen, his ground ball to fly ball ratio is pretty even. He's letting up a lot of ground ball, fly ball. It's solid if you look at it, and which is something that fares well in a Red Sox stadium where the ball could fly out. He does have consistently hitting ground balls and pitching ground ball and fly balls a lot, so that's great. He has given up 3 earned runs or less in his last since his first start, really. If you look at his first start, it was against I don't remember who it was against. Let's not try to front. I remember back that long, but he's had 3 or less earned runs against that. He has a 1.27 whip in his last few starts. His last 4, he's gone 6 and 7 innings, so he's gone deep. Anything else I can entice you with Mr. Bayo? Let's see if we could check out his last 3 starts. Let's hit this. All right, last three starts. Mr. Bayo, Interleague. Overall for the year, 5-4 record. He's on 5 days rest. 3.27 ERA. 1.27 WHIP. His last three, 2-0, 20 innings pitched in his last three, which is, I talk about, pitching, and how it used to be back in the day. That's pretty good, especially for a young arm. And in today's baseball, 20 innings and three starts, 1.74 ERA, and my favorite number, anything under a 1 with the whip, 0.92, 16 Ks, no home runs in the last three. So, that's how I lean towards the under, and that's what made me bet the under, I should say. And that's what made me go to the Miami Marlins. More the split than anything made me go to the Marlins, and I seen that money, that late money coming in on the Marlins, is why I kind of went to them. And like I talk about a lot, I'm not the biggest money split guy, but that's where I went with that game. Let's get my Marlins. I bet even, and I bet under 9 at -110 for the Red Sox game. Let me see what I could find. About 4 days ago, on the 26th of June, I got together all my records, and I'm going to go over them. I'm going to go over, not my records. I will go over my record for the first half after I finish it. But I did look at things like the best teams against the money line, against the run line, the best over teams, the best under teams. And I did that in the middle of June, around the 16th, and I did it again the other day on the 20th. It didn't count the games of the 25th, but it was up until that, right? So, and what I did was, so they were not included the games of the 25th, and then I'll do it again right before the All-Star break, and we'll see if any teams, any differences or what they held on to. I also got the beginning of the year, after around 4 weeks, I got some numbers with some situational trends, like, road dogs, like road favorites, like home favorites, numbers like that, how they started and where they're going to end up at the first half. I'll have all that stuff for you. Let's see what we could tell you about the Red Sox right now, though. The Red Sox had some good numbers against, let's see, it prints out so damn small to get everything on. The Red Sox, I have, that was, okay, let's do the 26, because that was the one way back. Twins, Rockies. I'm trying. We'll have to go back to that because I can't find that number. All right. Let's go to another game. Don, thanks for coming in. Love having you. You are the man. Next game up is the Chicago White Sox. Let's do the White Sox game. I bet this game, White Sox against the Angels. Mr. Sandoval against Mr. Lynn. Listen, Lynn has a 4.4x slugging percentage. He's given up a lot of hard hits. His K rate is good, but it's 27%. So like we said, it's 22% is the average. So he's doing well with that. But lefties have been hitting Chicago White Sox as always. They have a WRC plus of 94, below the average. And Sandoval, he's a weird pitcher, Sandoval. I think he's going to have a better outing today. He hasn't been pitching great ever since that stupid World Baseball Classic. Just something I can't stand. I think it stands for where ball players just crash because look what happened in that World Baseball Classic. I mean, it just started my Mets team off on a trajectory that we didn't like, losing Diaz in that damn Baseball Classic. Not that I'm saying the Mets would be much ahead of where they are if he was here, but boy, what a blow to the team at the beginning of the year. But Sandoval looked like he was a Cy Young winner, and why I bring up the WBC is because how he looked at that time, But since then, and now, where he's at, He has a K rate of 16.9. That's unbelievable how below league average he is. A 1.47 WHIP, a 4.16 ERA. White, like we said about Lynn, he hasn't been pitching great. His last time he pitched against the Angels was on the 31st of May. 8 hits, 3 homers in 4 innings, 8 earned runs. Angels beat him 12-5. Last two for Sandoval, he did give up 10 hits. He had 4 walks in one of the games. Not the best. That not what we really want to see too much. But I do think he has a better game. But where I went with this game was the under, and I believe it was 9 again. And it was minus 120. Let's see. Talk about having papers all over the place. Angels over 9, minus 20. That's what I took. I have a feeling that this is going to be a little bit of a low-scoring game. Surprisingly, when I was looking at ballpark factors and stuff, Angels are up there in ballpark in home runs in ballpark factor. I was a little surprised about that. The Red Sox was up there, the Yankees were up there, but even though the Yankees have been a stone cold under team, except for last night. Actually, the last 2 weeks they have gone a little bit or past that under trend, but yeah, they have been. But that's what I did with that game. Let's see what I could tell you about. Man, they still haven't listed. Pitches for Detroit. I still don't have a pitcher for Detroit. Wow, Lance Lynn. For the season, 6.4 ERA, 4-8, 1.49 ERA. As I mentioned, his last 3 starts, 0-2, 17 innings, over 5 ERA, 1.19 WHIP. So he might have some unlucky things happening there. Gave up a couple long balls. I didn't look at the logs, but what I liked and what kept me on this under is his strikeouts. 29 strikeouts to 3 home runs in his last 3 starts. I think that's something that you might be able even to attack if depending on who the Angels put out in their lineup. I think last Thursday Ohtani sat. I know the other day Trout sat, and then he played last night. So I mean, if you have these boys in the lineup, maybe not, but if one of them are out, maybe you can get some strikeout prop. Might not be too high with Lance Lynn. Might be a look, but I like this under 9. It was minus 120. I believe it'll go to 8.5 by game time. Of course, I wouldn't tell you not to bet the Angels, but I believe that line. Let's see where the line is now. Chicago White Sox, Angels minus 125, 72% of the bet, 73% of the money. So the Angels are still a decent price, actually. Something I might go back to. But I did bet the under 9 in that game. That was 1, 2, 3 bets so far. The last game I'm on are the Chicago Cubs, Philadelphia Phillies. My friend Taijuan Walker, 4.18 X slugging percentage, not great. His K rate is about a little bit under average, 20%. But 8 Ks, 8 innings was his last road start. Very well. 8 Ks in 8 innings. But guess what? It was against Oakland. He did pitch well against the Mets. I'll give him that. But overall, he has the issue was his splits. At home, 2.11 ERA. On the road, 5.7 ERA. Big difference on the road. The Cubs, they're back now. They're back from England. They've been putting up some runs. They're ready. I took their under when they first came back, and that worked. But today, I could see them getting to Walker. And I could see some runs being scored in this game, but I have a feeling that the total might have jumped to, let's see. Yeah. Okay. Phillies, Cubs. Yeah, the total went up to 10, so I'm off of that. The money splits got the Cubs Got the Phillies taking the most of the money, 69% of the bets, 71% of the handle is going towards the Phillies, where on the Cubs, only 30% of the handles, and it's about split. It says 31% handle, 29% cash. To tell you the truth, I kind of like the Cubs in this game to win, but the Phillies have been playing well. It's a tough game. I do think there's going to be runs scored. So what I did was took the Cubs team total over 4.5 minus 120. I felt that was the safest way to go. Listen, Hendricks is like a Cub staple. He's been pitching there for forever. 10 years, 12 years, 8, 9, whatever the hell it is. He's been pitching there forever, Hendricks. Okay? If anybody knows that ballpark and how to pitch in that ballpark, I would think him. I think that's something to look at, especially with a pitcher like him. Hendricks, like a lot of the pitchers. Let's see how many games he has started this year. And it's a theory I've been working on. He's on 7 days rest. He's only he didn't appear in too many games. I believe that's right. He was hurt at first. But Hendricks, 3-2 record, 2.60 ERA, 0.98 WHIP. His last 3 games, 19 innings pitched, again, which is good. 1.40 ERA, 0.62 WHIP. And Walker, last 3 games he's pitched well. 18 Ks, 0.95 ERA under 1, WHIP under 1 in 19 innings. And those numbers don't bode well for an over to happen. But I see Walker's numbers, on the road, like I say, a lot different. His last 3 starts, I'm not even going to go bother looking about that. Looking at those numbers, I'm assuming there were at least 2 or 3 of those were home. I think he gets hit. A lot of switch hitters are on the Cubs is another thing. Happ is a switch hitter. There's a couple guys that could switch hit, so the whole righty lefty thing could come into play with the Cubs. I like the way the Cubs have been hitting. But Hendricks, one thing about Hendricks, he has a hard hit rate of like 34%. I think that's not like averagey, a little above average. Nothing to really talk about. But his K rate is like under 13%, 12.9 or something. So he hasn't got his K rate up. But he's a lot of balls are for outs. You can see the numbers I ran on him. So. How many Ks did he have in his last 3? 6 Ks in his last 3 games. But he 3-0 record in those last 3. So his fly ball to ground ball rate, which I didn't write down, has to be decent. And 1.47 WHIP is what it is good. I'm sorry. That was another one. Like I said, the 12.9 K rate isn't the great. The Phillies lineup, is a little. Listen, Harper's healthy. Castellanos is having a good year. And that's where the numbers come into play as far as maybe this game could go over. And I was a little bit leery about taking the Cubs to win. But when I looked at both team totals and the numbers, I just stuck with the Cubs. I think there's still going to be runs scored. I don't know if it would be 10. I haven't played an over 9 in 2 years, so I couldn't tell you. But I'd like to tell you that's something we should look into about, how many overs do go over 9, over 10. Those higher numbers, over 11. We see those Rockies 11, 12, sometimes 13. We've seen those numbers. I got to find out if we could find out a record without me just looking at, games after games after logs and see if we could figure out if there's a number there that's really beneficial to us, I mean, in general, 8.5 has always been a good number, to look at. So we'll see. Anyhow, those are the games that I am on. We will be back again on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. See if I can get a couple of guests on to help me out. Go over a couple games. Shout out to my man Marley at Marley Bets, Brothers and Bets. I did a show with him last week. It's one of those guys, that we've known about each other for a long time. We've run in the same circles for a long time, but we never really talked. We never really were on camera together. And I did a show with him last week. It was a lot of fun. I knew about, like I said, I knew about him. I knew he was a good capper and stuff. I think he might like. We'll have to ask him. I think he really like how I love baseball. I think he really loves football. But he talks about himself not being such a great handicapper in baseball. But I think he's selling himself a little short, and it's just something that he's probably getting better at and learning at the way I am with college basketball. So far the NFL is I'm average at best when it comes to the NFL. So there you go. As we talk about under and overs, just quickly, let's see what I could tell you about under and over teams. Who's the number one over under team as far as profit is concerned? So if you bet every game on their over, you'd be up $100 a game. You'd be up 10 units. It's the Atlanta Braves. They are 43-30, 43-30-3 to the over and under. And the thing about these over and under numbers is they could vary a little bit different depending on the number you play and what book you're playing at. But I'm the same way I feel about the money splits. I know some people are worried about these money splits till it comes. This is my tip. I talked about it last week. Not to be so crazy about these money splits and worrying about how they change per hour and stuff. I think your time could be spent better, analyzing different things. If I'm telling you something 70%, someone else is telling you something 73%, doesn't it tell you the same thing? So the actual numbers might differ. Like I said, 43-30 and 3 pushes, that could differ. But it's still going to tell you that the Braves are the number one over team. Tampa Bay is number 2. Let's see. Number 3 is the Dodgers. I see number 5 is the Rangers. Where's number 4? That is the Reds, Cincinnati Reds. As far as the under teams, the best under team, let's put it that way, as of July 26th, not counting the games of July 26th, but the best under team that's hitting 21% of their games has been their ROI is 21% if you played every under that they played this year, and that's the Padres. Wow. Number 2 is the Athletics. So the Padres, then the Athletics, and the Mets are down there too. So, but some interesting numbers. But I'm gonna be compiling all these type of numbers, and the Guardians, another under team. I'm gonna compile all these numbers, see if we get some total numbers that we could, if there's a number like 9, I say 9.5. Let's see if we could. If there's more overs or unders at that number. Like I said, I don't like to bet all those 9s. Good morning, Razor Sharp Picks. How are you, Razor? Good to see you. Hope the family is doing well. And there's my boy, my teammate, Mr. Ixnizzle 420. We know what 420 is all about. So thank you guys for joining in. So yeah, it's a Thursday show. Quick little show. We're on a few of the games. Like I said, a lot of games, a lot of the lineups weren't out, a lot of the pitching weren't out, so I didn't cap them yet, and we'll see what happens. I did want to touch a little bit on the Met game tonight. I'm staying away from the Mets now until after the All-Star break. Let's see what happens. They had, Steve Cohen, the owner, did a press conference yesterday and said basically what I said he was going to say. Don't panic, don't worry, blah, 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 the whole thing, right? So he wasn't going to come in there and firing people yesterday, folks. I don't know what you Met fans were thinking about, but he wasn't doing that. It doesn't even make sense. Listen, I'm starting to, I was a big Buck Showalter supporter, and I'm starting to get less and less, but firing him in the middle of the year ain't going to do nothing. Let's see where we end up at the end of the year. But Mets are in trouble. Mets are in trouble. I said it 2 weeks ago. They had to win the next 10 games, at least win 6 or 7. They didn't. Now, if they don't at least knock off a couple games, at least a couple games against the Braves before the All-Star break, they're shot. The chances of them even making a wild card is going to be slim to none. But I do think Max Scherzer will be on point tonight. He's became our best pitcher again. He wasn't, and now he is again. and I think he'll have his strikeouts tonight, and his strikeout prop might be something to look at. Senga hit his last night, but with a poor performance again by the New York Mets. But I do like them to win tonight, but the line is out of control. Scherzer, I do think, is going to go long. So there's a prop I like that's over 16 and a half outs. That might be something to look at. That means he pitches, basically 6 full almost, something like that. So that's something to look at. But yep, that's I could go on a rant about the Mets that I just won't do today. So here we go, guys. Marlins even. Well, like I said, they went from dog to favorite. Love the spot. Love Luzardo. Rain in the forecast in Red Sox land. Hot, rainy. Might not be the greatest night to play baseball. There is a slight wind blowing out, but very slight. I took the under 9, minus 110. I did take the Angels over 9, minus 120. And I took the Cubs team total over 4.5, minus 120. Those are the 4 bets I took today. It was great talking to everybody. Thank you for showing up. We'll be doing this again on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. If my man Razor Sharps is ever up early and don't have the kids jumping all over him, I know you're up early. But with the kids. But if you're up early, you want to jump on with me, man, just slip a DM. You always have an open invitation. We always have room for everybody that wants to join. So we'll do that. Maybe I'll have Mr. Ixnizzle could join us on a Saturday morning with a baseball player or two. But we're coming up to the All-Star break. We'll be taking a little break. I could use one. We're gonna get together a show, like I said at the beginning, like I did last year, about the beginning of, it was nice. It was a mix of us, a couple of guys at pub. Connor was with me, I remember. We talked about the first half of baseball, what was good, what was surprising, and what we think is going to happen in the second half. And I was looking at that show. I went back and looked at it, and we were on point pretty much with the second half of the season. Of course, I got a little carried away with the Mets, and that blew up in my face. But hey, that's that's something we're used to, right? But anyhow, I'll be back Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And like I said, next week we'll try to get something together for the week after during the All-Star break to see what's going on for the second half. I think it's going to be wild. I think it's going to be a lot different. And of course, we're going to get our football will be starting. I've talked to some of our friends already. They want to do some football draft stuff. So some preseason NFL stuff. DJ has already been putting out his previews on the college football, which we should have a good season here at Who-Bangin with the college football. And he's been putting out his Mountain West and his different conferences and different previews. So they'll be coming out as more and more as the weeks go on. So stay tuned for that. Our boy Ixnizzle is always doing his live sweat, and you never know when he's going to pop on. Now he's becoming the horse racing man. So that's good. He's starting to get into the horse racing. Something I backed away from, but it's always fun doing some horse racing. For me, that's one of the things you got to keep for fun. But hey, listen, some of you guys are good at it. Some of you guys crush it. I know Razor is a good handicapper when it comes to horse playing. It's just something I'm not. That's just the way it is. But keep your eye on all of us at Team Who-Bangin. You'll be getting more and more content out of us as time goes on. More and more shows, more and more things coming up. And that's all I got for you. So, thank you, everybody, for coming in. Thanks, faux pot. I appreciate it, bro. So, Saturday morning at 10 a.m., we will be back with Light It Up. Thank you, guys.